Number 5, current business, discussion and possible action on the following update on the status of the town of Waukesha on-site sewage disposal system. Mike.
As of our last meeting, Mr. Day had indicated that there would be a letter from Mr. Henshaw to the Common Council. I spoke with Mr. Day. He had no copy of that letter to get to me. I have a call into Mr. Henshaw and no response at this time. I'm hoping, and with follow-up, that this gets put on the July 18th Common Council meeting, and that letter is produced by Mr. Henshaw and forwarded to the Common Council. That's what I have at this point.
I've got a little later update. It's going to the Water Commission on August the 15th, I believe, is their next meeting. And at that time, they see no hurdles that we would have to overcome for that to be approved. In the meantime, since I don't think we want to be doing winter construction with regards to trying to get pipes in the ground and waiting for engineering to get done, I think we should probably move forward and get some engineering done now.
Where did you get this, John? How come I wasn't in the loop on that?
I don't know.
Well, okay. It's hard to stay abreast of things. I don't want to be calling people you've already talked to. Share the information with me. We can go forward with it together.
Mike, I told you it was something that was offered to me very late today.
Yeah, that's fine. Phone calls.
Nonetheless, you now have the information. I think we should move forward with engaging an engineer and getting some plans drawn so that we can commence with getting this thing fixed once and for all.
If I could just offer a comment, I'm concerned we're in the middle of July here. This, depending on the scope of what's involved in this and whether we put water laterals in at the same point in time, whether we hook up or not, I mean, this thing, loosely type of thing, I mean, this could be $50,000 or more. Our town ordinances require us to take competitive bids on something of this nature that's $10,000 or more unless it's emergency. I believe that's true, Hector, is it not? Whatever the number is.
Yeah, certainly 50,000 would go.
Be over it. It is going to be, I mean, this type of thing has been my business for well over 30 years. We go through the process of getting the engineering done. It has to be advertised. We have to take competitive bids. We have to act on those competitive bids and everything. I mean, we're almost at the point that we're going to be dangerously in trouble of getting this done before we get to winter. I'm deeply concerned about it. We've been futzing around with this thing since October of last year, and the time's going to catch up on us. We will pay a premium price for this if we push it too far into the construction season. It's summer and it's warm out there, but that's coming quick now. We've been diddling around with this far too long.
The only thing I am a little concerned about, spending money on engineering, not knowing if they're going to allow us to hook up or not. Isn't that sort of putting the cart before the horse?
Well, my suggestion, you can't go and do anything now unless we've got a proposal, Larry, for somebody to do engineering or proposals. I mean, that has to be approved by this board. The next step needs to be to get proposals for the engineering services. That's what we need. You can't go ahead and hire somebody to get to work on that now. It takes board authorization. We don't even have money in the budget for that.
What would you suggest? Are you suggesting an RFP for an engineering outfit? Or just engaging Rupert Melke?
I mean, I guess that's the prerogative of the board. I'd be comfortable, I guess, either way with that, but we need to get a proposal or proposals.
Mike, any thoughts? Your project?
Did you get any recent information on that you want to share?
I just did.
Okay. Okay, let's go forward and get some proposals going. Mr. Miller?
Chris, how much money do you think it would cost with Rupert Milky to provide the engineering necessary to get the hookups done? Well, planned out.
I guess we would first want to know what we're engineering. And there was some discussion at the city about, extending the sewer to our south lot line and that kind of stuff. So are we doing that? Are we doing the water main as well? So I guess there's some questions that I would have before we would want to
Can we
provide
look at
number. I
it from
think
the
it's fairly small.
apocalypse? We gotta go all the way to the south and we gotta bring water and sewer.
We could do that.
What would you need to be able to generate an estimate and the engineering for that? Hour-wise, dollar-wise, just ballpark, I'm not trying to pin you down. That'll come in 2 minutes.
You're probably looking at $5,000 to $6,000 maybe, somewhere in that range, 5 to 8. Put a spec together with bidding documents, plans, get through city approvals, that kind of stuff. DNR sewer and water extension.
And that, I think we've all agreed that that is the ultimate solution to our ongoing problem. We wouldn't need an RFP, RFQ for our own engineer to do that work. We've entrusted him to do the work already with regard to the septic in the past. I'd be prepared to authorize, I guess I'll make a motion to authorize Rupert Milky to begin preparation for the engineering work on the hookups with an original budget not to exceed, your high number was 8, your low number was 6. I'll throw a dart at $7,500 without coming back to the board for more money.
When we had our meeting, they were kind of dead set on us picking up the cost of going from our manhole over here to the north to the south end of our lot line on our dime, perhaps somewhere around $90 a foot.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're engineering based on not knowing if them being that, the city being that adamant, or would let us go with the northern hookup, would make a difference on the total cost of the project and your engineering. I mean, are you gonna do it both ways?
No, I asked for the
No,
apocalyptic, which was to go all the way to the furthest portion of the lot line. Let's know what it's gonna cost, let's get this monkey off of our back and get it moving forward.
I guess a question for Chris though, whether that's extended to the south lot line or part of the distance down there to Hook and River, wouldn't that be in the public right of way? Would that not be a city project to do that? Or would they allow us to do that with a private contractor, or do we know?
They would probably ask that the town bid that as a town project, and then the city would probably inspect it on their behalf.
So they would let you engineer that in the public right of way, is that what you're saying? Okay.
And then they would review our plans and make comments.
I mean, I'm all for getting on with the show. I mean, I will support where you're going, but we gotta take the proper steps on this. I mean, in order to be doing this, we should be deciding where this money is coming out of our budget. I mean, now we're proposing to spend something, I mean, maybe we can, for the moment, put that in a maintenance type of thing or what or not, but we need to get on with that stuff with the budget amendment to do that, or we get a bill, what fund does that come out of? I think we need to get on the show with that real quick. Mike?
Well, that bill won't be produced for some time. I think it can be put on the agenda and brought up at the next meeting,
I agree.
where we're gonna get our funds from to pay for this. Fischer? Sounds good?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably the situation we're faced with again. We don't want to be in a situation, I mean, basically authorizing expenditure of money that we haven't budgeted for. I mean, it's certainly not the best way to do it, but if we want to agree to kind of take that procedure together, I can get on with it. It's not my preference, I can tell you that.
The other option would be hang tight until after July 25th, or July,
Yeah, I don't
on the
think,
26th, we could give you the green light.
yeah, I don't think there's much that I can do between now and then anyway. I mean, I don't know if you would want us to physically start design of something, you know, Joe put it the apocalyptic version, not fully knowing. Certainly there's some economies of scale with regards to what we design one way or the other, but I think it probably behooves everybody to wait until we know what the rules are and what we're shooting for.
I think my view of that is that between John and Mike working with you together and the city to negotiate whether or not we're gonna hook up on the north or hook up on the south, it's gonna cost us about $6,000 to $8,000 for you to do the engineering work. Whether you start that in August or you start that now, you're still gonna need the approval for us to do what I made the motion for us to do. And then John and Mike have the authority to do what they need to do to get the engineering work done, and they should be negotiating with the city and come back to us and say, the city absolutely wants us to pay all the way to the south end of the property line. We can't get them to budge off of that. And then that's a different conversation that has nothing to do with, did we authorize you to do the engineering work? We're gonna have to do the engineering work. We have to fix the problem. And sometimes we might have to do a budget amendment because we have to fix our septic system. I mean, that'll be just things we're gonna have to do in the near future as part of the process, but.
And I think there's probably dollars in the engineering budget if I'm not mistaken.
The other thing that needs to be resolved, it's not gonna be resolved tonight, but if we're talking two things, sanitary sewer and the other one is water, I mean, I think it's a given that the sanitary sewer is hooked up, that's what's driving this, and whether that goes to an existing manhole or how far they have that extended, and this is all predicated on the city allowing us to hook up to sanitary sewer and water. But the other issue then is the water aspect of it. Is the water main on the other side of the street or what?
I think it is, yeah.
So the question with the scope of that is, does it make sense to put the water service lateral in the common trench with proper separation with the sanitary sewer and use that same routing thing? If so, is it connected to the, get across the street, and there'll be considerable expense in doing that, but get to the other side of the street, connect it to the main and not connect the building? And again, I don't know whether they would permit that or not connect on one end or the other, or both, or neither. I mean, there's a whole lot of questions surrounding what happens with the water service that need to be resolved. You can probably get started a bit with the engineering part of it, but before anybody can get too far down on that, you gotta figure out what the scope of that is and what the city will allow and what we want. We haven't even had that discussion.
We had some of that discussion when we met with Paul Day, and yes, definitively the water's on the opposite side of the street. Yes, would it make sense to put it in the same trench? Yes, except for their separation is 8 feet horizontal.
Right.
So it'd be an awful big trench. It probably makes sense to run them in their own trench and not dig that big and then cross the street when you need to. They're gonna require us, once they have Great Lakes water, they're gonna require us to hook up to their water system. It's not gonna be an option. Whether or not we have to do that immediately, kind of irrelevant. We'll have to run the pipe one way or the other.
It makes the most sense to run the pipe for the water also. In the event they do not get the straw to Lake Michigan, it's my understanding that we won't have to return water in that respect, so we can still maintain our are functioning well and have the sewage treated or city sewer.
Yes, correct. So there was a motion on, was there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.